Question 101. What does AUS stand for? Automated Underwriting System. Question 102. What does SAFE Act stand for? Secure and Fair Enforcement Act. Don't get confused here. It's not safe and fair, secure and fair. Question 103. What does HERA stand for? Housing and Economic Recovery Act. This is the act that created the SAFE Act. What does HIPAA stand for? HIPAA stands for the Homeowners Protection Act. What does GLBA stand for? That is the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act. What type of property is covered under RESPA? RESPA covers 1 to 4 unit residential property, sometimes called owner-occupied. The owner must live in 1 unit. Question 107. Which regulation allows lenders to obtain information regarding a borrower's ethnicity to help identify possible discriminatory patterns? That law is called HMDA, also known as Regulation C. It allows the regulators to see what possible discrimination may be taking place. Question 108. When can a borrower request cancellation of PMI? The answer is when the loan to value reaches 80%. They can request cancellation. Question 109. When must the lender automatically cancel PMI? That is when the loan to value reaches 78%. Question 110. What is the primary market? The primary market is where the borrowers and consumers obtain mortgage loans. It's where you and I, as mortgage loan originators, do our loans. Question 111. What is the secondary market? The secondary market is where lenders buy and sell loans from one another. Question 112. Name 2 government-sponsored enterprises, also called GSEs. That will be Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Which GSE is the Federal National Mortgage Association? That will be Fannie Mae, sometimes abbreviated FNMA. Which GSE is the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Association? That would be Freddie Mac, sometimes abbreviated FHLMC. Question 115. TILA applies to credit when it is payable by written agreement and how many installments? That answer, more than 4. Question 116. Which AUS system does Fannie Mae use? AUS means automatic underwriting system. That would be Desktop Underwriter, abbreviated as DU. Question 117. Which automatic underwriting system does Freddie Mac use? That will be Loan Product Advisor, formerly known as Loan Prospector, or LP. Looks like now it's going to be called LPA. Question 118. How often must national DNC and internal DNC lists be updated? DNC means do not call. Every 31 days, and records must be maintained for 24 months. Question 119. An appraisal is valid for how many months? An appraisal is valid for 6 months, updated 1/1/20. It must be recertified if the appraisal will be 4 months, meaning 120 days old, or more at the time of closing. Question 120. What is the penalty for violating the Do Not Call list? B and C. That penalty is $42,530 per incident. Question 121. Which regulation allows the borrower to sue for 3 times the amount paid for title insurance? That will be Section 9 of RESPA, the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. Question 122. If money was collected and a borrower rescinds, how long does escrow have to return the funds? Escrow has 20 days. Question 123. Mortgage loan originators seeking to become licensed in other states or who seek to move from a bank to a non-bank lending will be allowed how many days of TA, which means Transitional Temporary Authority? That's really new. So that answer is, these individuals are allowed to originate loans while completing any state-specific requirements for licensure, such as education or testing, for up to 120 days while they are applying to the state agency for their new license. Something very new. Question 124. What is the only fee that can be collected prior to delivery of the loan estimate? That would be the credit reporting fee, the only fee that you can take before the documents disclosures come down. Question 125. Once an individual is unlicensed for how many years as an MLO, most states require that that individual retake the 20 hours of pre-licensing education in order to have his mortgage loan originator license reinstated. How many years you think? The answer is, once an individual is unlicensed for 3 years as an MLO, most states require that the individual retake 20 hours of pre-licensing education in order to have his MLO license reinstated. Question 126. What law requires that the Equal Housing Lender slogan or logo be placed on all advertising? That is the Fair Housing Act, not to be confused with ECOA. Question 127. How long does a person have to sue for a violation under the Fair Housing Act? 1 year. Question 128. Once unlicensed, for how many years the individual must retake and pass the national exam? Once unlicensed for 5 years, the individual must retake and pass the national exam. If the individual has worked as a registered mortgage loan originator during this unlicensed period, then he is credited for that time. This is also very new. Question 129. What is a site where you can receive a free copy of your credit report according to the FACT Act? That site is the annualcreditreport.com. www.annualcreditreport.com. Don't get confused. I chose freecreditreport.com. I think I chose it 3 times since I had to take the test that many times to pass it. So this is a tip to you. Don't get fooled here. Question 130. The lender must provide the borrower with a list of then what? HUD approved counselors. The lender must provide the borrower with a list of then 10 HUD approved counselors, meaning they have to be approved at that time. Question 131. What regulation is designed to protect consumers' non-public information, also known as NPI, and how it can and cannot be shared? That will be the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act, GLBA, or Financial Services Modernization Act of 1999. Remember, these acts sometimes have more than one name. Question 132. Which law requires lenders to verify the date of birth, social security number, and ethnicity of a person getting a loan in the United States? That would come under the U.S. Patriot Act. Question 133. If you fail the test 3 times, what is the waiting period to retest? That answer is 6 months, also written as 180 days. We do not want this to happen. Question 134. Under HMDA, how long must a lender keep the loan application registered, aka LAR? That will be 3 years. Question 135. What day does your license expire each year? That will be December 31st of each year. Just remember, guys, December 31st is New Year's Eve. That may be able to help you remember that. Question 136. What is the renewal period to keep your license current? That renewal period is November 1st through December 31st. Question 137. What are 2 types of mortgages that require that the homeowner meet with a counselor to ensure that he or she understands how the program works? That would be reverse mortgages and higher priced Section 35 mortgages, sometimes referred to as HMLS for the Section 35. Question 138. Which act requires companies to give consumer privacy notices? That would fall under the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act. Question 139. Which act was implemented to promote financial stability and to protect consumers from abusive practices? That would be the Dodd-Frank Act. Question 140. What is RESPA Section 6 responsible for? That will be mortgage servicing. Question 141. What is RESPA Section 8 responsible for? That will be kickbacks, fee splitting, and unearned fees. Question 142. What is RESPA Section 9 responsible for? Section 9 of RESPA is responsible for title insurance. Question 143. What is RESPA Section 10 responsible for? Section 10 of RESPA is responsible for escrow accounts. Question 144. What is the max mortgage term, meaning length, allowed for a mortgage to be classified as a qualified mortgage? That answer is 30 years. Question 145. Until the loan estimate has been delivered, what fee can a MLO charge? The only fee that can be charged is the fee for the credit report. Question 146. Estimate of charges and terms for settlement services must be available for at least how many days, business days, from the time the loan estimate is provided? At least 10 business days. Question 147. If a new, meaning revised, loan estimate is required because of a changed circumstance, it must be disclosed and received by the borrower how many days prior to the loan consummation, loan closing, loan settlement? Four days. The initial loan estimate is due at or within 3 days of the application. A revised loan estimate is due within 3 days of the notice of change. But in all cases, it must be delivered 4 days prior to the loan closing. It's a simple little mathematical problem here. And that's because the soonest a loan can close, according to according to MDIA, that is 7 days. So it goes 3 plus 4 equals 7. Question 148. Flood insurance must be purchased from the National Flood Insurance Program, the acronym NFIP. Question 149. The minimum amount of flood insurance required for a home in a flood zone is how much? The minimum amount is $100,000. Question 150. The max amount of flood insurance required for a home in a flood zone is how much? That answer is $250,000.